Thank you, Leslie, for being on this call with us. First of all, I'd like to introduce Leslie Weinstein, president of Turtles Fly 2. He's our environmental hero for this quarter, this time, and we've been talking to him for a while. He does some phenomenal work with his nonprofit. So, Leslie, can you introduce yourself to us, please?
Yes, my name's Leslie Weinstein, president of Turtles Fly 2, and I've been doing this for many, many years now. Actually, it started when I was the chairman at the University of Florida Archie Carr Centers for Sea Turtle Research. Uh, and I got that position. They decided I'll put it this way, they chose me. Um, I ended up donating beach property that I had. It was in the family for many, many years. And on this property, the unique thing about it, I used to walk the beaches at night when the turtles would lay their eggs, and I would get all the eggs up in what they call guinea sacks, croaker bags, potato bags, another word for them, or buckets. And I would take them to the property and I'd dig a hole, a big long trench, because it depended on how many eggs I got for the night. Sometimes it was 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 eggs
Wow.
during the course of the night. And I was busy doing these things. And the reason I did it is another thing. Back then, it was legal for people to uh, take turtles and the sea turtle eggs, and they would dig them up and sell them to the bakeries and the bars. And don't ask me how, why I did it, but I just didn't like that. It was just one of those things. I decided it wasn't, uh, something I enjoyed. And if you've ever tasted a sea turtle egg, they are just as sandy and gritty as could be. Matter of fact, it takes a bottle of Tabasco sauce just to down one. So that's to give you an idea how how very palatable those things are, or lack thereof, rather. Not a gourmet treat whatsoever, and I don't see how people consider them a gourmet treat. And all the countries still to this day do dig them up, unfortunately. So I did that, and so I during the summers I actually hatched out in excess of 20,000 eggs just during the summer when I do this. And I
Wow.
was a young teenager at the time. So years down the road, I moved to Boise, Idaho, but years down the road, I kept reading these reports of all the nesting that was going on in the vicinity of the property. And anybody in and around the world knows exactly where this property is. It's that unique. I own the property adjacent to Marineland, Florida, which is south of St. Augustine and north of Daytona Beach. And the property is actually on both sides of the road. On the Atlantic side, it's the beach there. And there's an old road, A1A, that cuts through the property. And on the west side of the road, it's the Intercoastal Waterway. And out past there is an environmental swamp area, that's they've been enhancing. So I decided to donate the property, uh,
Wow.
and I
That's great.
and I did. So you can imagine the expense, the value of beach property, but money is not everything to me. And I did this for and I do this for everybody's kids and grandkids. Nowadays, one of the biggest problems that I've seen is the lack of conservation out there. And it truly is. People are talking about it, but still, it's just not there the way it should be. Uh, so I did this, and in the donation, this is where it all comes down to Turtle Fly 2. With the donation, what I did, I specifically stated that Terry Norton had the ability to utilize the property for his education or research, whatever he needed. Along,
Leslie, excuse me, who's Terry Norton?
well, that's what I was going to explain.
Oh,
Terry
sorry.
Norton is Terry Norton is with the Georgia Sea Turtle Center on Jekyll Island, and Terry is the one who founded the Sea Turtle Center there. He is a veterinarian and a researcher, but Terry and I got to know each other pretty well. But in that donation, besides naming Terry to utilize the property, I also stated that aviation had to be a part of it. Had no clue or idea how that was going to happen. And when it was donated, it was the year 2010. In 2014, and I'd been on Terry the whole time since then, saying, Terry, you got to help me. We got to do something here. So finally, it was around June of 2014. Terry called me and says, Leslie, I got it. So we have a green sea turtle that could not be released to the wild. And there was an aquarium up in Iowa that could take this turtle. So we got together and planned it all out. It took all of a day, actually, for me to put the call out to the aviation community, of which I play a big part in. And we got this turtle moved. Now, the first people who called me was the state of Georgia asking if they could be involved. And I said, yeah, sure. They got a hold of Angel Flight. Angel Flight, for those who don't know, their main objective is to take people to hospitals or their doctor's appointments, and they do not charge. So the pilots fly people. It's a great organization. So we got this taken care of, and it just one thing led to another. But there was 3 pilots who flew the mission, and I say 3 because what we had was a relay to get them there. You know, it's 1,000 miles away. I'm just saying 1,000, but you know, long distance. So it was done. Turtle arrived very safe and ready to get into the waters there at their aquarium, and he was taken care of for many, many years.
Hey, Leslie, can I interrupt you for a minute? Can you tell me why aviation was important to you, though?
Yeah. I grew up in aviation.
Okay. I just need to know.
And yeah, I grew up in aviation is the reason it's so important. Without aviation, you know, things of this nature would not happen. But I'll get more into that too with what I'm going to talk about when I started Turtle Fly 2 in November. So we flew the turtle. So then Terry calls me up in November of 2014 and says, Leslie, he says, I've got 50 cold stunned Kemps that need to come down to me for rehabilitation. So Terry explained to me what the problem was up in Cape Cod, which I was not aware. And 2014 happened to be the largest cold stun event in the history of Cape Cod. There was over 1,200 turtles that ended up being cold stunned. And we ended up, a lot of them perished, don't get me wrong, but we ended up flying more than 700 of them. And I kind of joke around anymore with Terry, letting them know that, wait a minute, I only signed up for 50, and now it's been all these years later, it's been thousands of turtles we've saved and hundreds of flights. And that's how Turtles Fly 2 started. But the most important thing about Turtles Fly 2, and I do tell this to everybody, I do this for my grandkids and your grandkids, for everyone's. I want them to have what I had growing up. And that is just not there anymore. So it's very important on the Kemps, because the Kemps are headed towards extinction. Every turtle to me is extremely important to fly to the hospitals and, you know, for recovery and return to the oceans. That's the objective, is to rehabilitate them and return them to the oceans, to the wild. So that's what I started, and the most important thing with Turtles Fly 2. Since then, Turtles Fly 2 has evolved into a very positive organization where we're involved with all the government agencies that need to be. Matter of fact, they're the ones who have supported us. They do not support us with funding. They support us with the permitting that we need to handle all these endangered species.